Do you know that the future of humanity may look completely different from what we imagine today? In this hypno-channeling session, we'll dive deep into how raising our collective consciousness is paving the way for open contact with non-human intelligence. What if marriage, entertainment, education, and even medicine transform as we reach higher states of awareness? And what happens to those resistant to this new reality? Stay tuned as we discuss groundbreaking predictions for 2027, major global shifts, and the fascinating hybrid beings said to be guiding us toward an interconnected interstellar community. As a level 2 quantum healing hypnotherapist, Naomi has developed a unique modality known as hypno-channeling. When a person is being hypnotized, they connect with their subconscious, which holds all knowledge and universal memories. When Naomi invites or summons spirits or energies, they come through the channeler's body naturally without any prior conscious knowledge of that person. Using this method, any secrets of the universe can be revealed. If you have any paranormal or near-death experiences and would like to know the truth behind them, contact us through healingandretreats.com.
Anything that you can let me know or you feel is something that needs to be addressed, is something we're going to be doing very differently from now.
We're just going to be living an existence that's very intentional and it's not fear-based. And that's really about raising our consciousness as a collective and bringing humanity to a point that we can interact with both the greys and other species of non-human intelligence on a regular basis and just kind of understand ourselves as members of a interplanetary community, interstellar community. It's going to take time, but it's very exciting.
And so what will happen to leaders of other countries if they have any type of resistance, rejections? And it's the same concept you just talked about in this country?
It's going to vary a little bit. For each situation is going to be a little different, but they're either going to adjust and they're going to
go to a different timeline.
Right, they might shift to a different timeline, or if they stay in this timeline, they may just become irrelevant because people stop. If they won't get on board, they lose their power because
people are not going to follow them.
Exactly.
So can you tell me more about the shifting to a different timeline? How does that work?
There's multiple versions of Earth, and people who don't raise their vibration enough for open contact are going to shift into a version of Earth that doesn't experience open contact.
But so let's say different version of Earth which does not experience this event is because they have raised their consciousness already? What is that?
No, it's because they haven't. They don't raise it enough to be able to experience open contact. And the souls who go on that path, they have their own reasons for doing so.
So our version is, let's say, it's not the worst, the lowest. Actually, we're, in a way, compared with those versions of Earth, we are more, we reach to a level that we're ready to shift.
We're just at a higher vibration. We're more evolved.
But there are also versions that are more evolved spiritually.
Yes.
So it seems that there are many different versions of Earth. It's almost like not possible to count how many.
Correct.
So what will happen to, let's say, entertainment industry?
People will still need stories to be entertained by, but it's going to be an version. It's going to be higher quality. It's going to be content that encourages unity rather than separation and encourages people to raise their vibration. That's the type of content people are going to start consuming because they're just going to be drawn to it naturally. Mm-hmm. So that's what they're going to want to produce.
So let's say as entertainment part, let's say business. There are a lot of business right now, right? People are doing, they're either selling, let's say, products or services. So what will happen to those business?
Some of them are just going to fail and people are going to have to find other ways to use their talents because some of those products people are just not going to buy anymore. But it's all part of a transition plan. It's not, the idea is not that anyone's business crashes and then they go homeless, because what we're doing is shifting so that everybody can find their way.
So they can shift doing something that benefit other people's life.
In use of their own skills.
Mm-hmm. So the AI, the technology part, so we're going to use more and more artificial intelligence to help with this transition. So a lot of things can be done by AI.
It's not about AI replacing human creativity, but about using AI as a tool for things that we don't necessarily need to do anymore, because that frees us up to do things that are more creative and more productive.
Yes. So how about the education system?
It's going to have to radically change because they're going to have to learn first of all, a completely different history than the one that they've learned in the past. But many of the school buildings are going to be replaced. Children are going to be able to learn outside, and they're also going to be learning in virtual environments. Virtual classrooms are going to be able to communicate with the hybrid children, learn about them. So it's going to look radically different than it looks now.
How about college? The same concept.
Same concept. People are still going to go to college. Colleges aren't going to disappear completely. Some of the universities are going to shut down just because they're not going to be sustainable, but there still will be something even as higher education to an extent, but it will be free. It won't be profit-based. It'll be for anyone who wants to do it and anyone who's willing to put in the effort to do it. And again, the modalities will be very different. It'll be more hands-on learning, more virtual learning. You'll be able to learn from home.
And now, what will happen to our medical system or pharmaceutical industry?
As we raise our vibration, this is going to be gradual. It's not going to be all at once, but first of all, people are not going to be getting sick as often because they're going to be eating better, exercising more. They're also going to learn how the body works and what illness really is. So they're going to learn how to rid their body of certain energies, and that for the most part, they don't need pharmaceuticals to do that. And so the pharmaceutical industry really is just going to gradually die off.
Because people can heal themselves.
People are going to learn how to heal themselves. They're not going to need drugs anymore.
And also they will have less diseases to even start from.
Exactly.
So what will happen to, let's say, right, the things we do here? I can't know the answer, but I want to see if people are going to look at it differently. Let's say a marriage.
Right. So as people raise their vibration and their consciousness, they're going to still want to connect with each other romantically, but it's going to look different. Right now, a lot of marriages are based on jealousy and control, and just also people feeling incomplete and needing someone else there to complete them. So this won't be right all at once. It's going to take time, but as people raise their consciousness, they're going to realize that they are complete all on their own, that they don't need another person to complete them, and that there's really nothing for anyone to feel jealous about. And that really relationships are based on wanting the other person to be whole and free, and yourself being whole and free, and connecting with that person on an intimate level if you both choose to. So there will be some people who still choose to take part in some type of life contract that we would call marriage, but it's going to be much more open and really about enhancing each other's worth and validating each other, but not needing each other and codependent, controlling one another.
So would you say that will be much less people want to get married and they just keep open relationship? But it's not the same. We're talking about open relationship today. It's just a more free type of
There will be less people in traditional marriages. But some people, again, they may choose to make lifelong commitments to each other, but there'll be much more there'll be more healthy ways of relating to each other.
So how about education to raise children will be in a different way, right? When people become parents, so they will understand better how to raise their children.
Absolutely. There's also going to be more of a sense of everybody's going to take part in helping raise children instead of it just being all completely on the parents. But yeah, parents will learn that raising a child is not, a lot of people have children for the wrong reasons. They want to have little versions of themselves, and they're going to realize this is just about helping guide another human being on their own path through life and provide for them. You don't control them, and they're not little versions of you. They're their own being.
You see? So this part, right now we have a lot of, especially in New York City, we have a lot of lawyers. And so what will happen to this part?
There's going to be a legal system, so it's not that lawyers are going to completely disappear, but right now, a lot of the things that we need lawyers for, we're not going to need lawyers for in the future, frivolous lawsuits and things like that. And we're going to completely change our criminal justice system, so we're going to need criminal attorneys in the same way. It's not that this role is going to disappear completely, it's just going to be very different and more limited, and it's really going to be about helping represent people and better themselves.
Will be kind of minimal cases that people have.
Yeah, and the goal is going to be for people to be able to there's still going to be laws, but they're going to be transparent enough for people to understand them on their own and represent themselves rather than having to rely on attorneys to interpret the law.
When it comes to prisons, where police will be much less than today.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to transition to completely getting rid of prisons are not going to exist. We'll have rehabilitation centers for people to heal themselves or to receive healing rather than punishment. There'll still be police in a much more limited role. They will not have guns anymore. They will not be about arresting and harming people. They will be just kind of to serve the community and kinds of role models and to an extent enforce order, but people will govern themselves much more smoothly.
So we'll have borders, but we'll have less and less, gradually.
Yeah, we're going to transition eventually to completely open borders.
So there will be like no countries eventually.
I mean, it's like kind of the idea of countries, like they place with like a different culture, but the rigid boundaries and, the idea of a completely different set of laws and rules, that will go away.
So let's say transportation, when people travel, besides use we have right now, and we're going to use, let's say, spaceship, some other ways to travel.
We're going to use teleportation. It's going to happen. That's something we're going to learn. There'll be perhaps some use of ships, yes.
And we can use teleportation is more like a portal.
Correct, but also learning that consciousness is non-local, so you can, transport your consciousness somewhere that you want to be. If you want to transport your body, yes, there'll be portals, there'll be, ships that you can use. Everything will be much faster.
That all started happening year 2029?
2029, there's still a lot of traditional transportation, although the cars and the planes are much more efficient because the energy they're using is much more efficient. Full shift to the change in transportation will be in the 2035 onward.
Oh, okay. And so what will happen 2028? I want you to sense if that is after open contact.
Yes, it is.
So can you tell me a little bit about that year? I know that's maybe a little bit chaotic.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of chaos. It's a transition year. It's a lot of people waking up to the reality for the first time. A lot of people still don't understand that extraterrestrials are real. So after the open contact, there's, in the open, they are real, but there's a lot of people who are afraid. They don't know what their intentions are. There's, and there's people who are afraid because they're losing power.
Or money.
Right. They're losing power. They're losing money. They're realizing that massive shifts are coming. So it will be, to an extent, a bit of a difficult year, but if people just stay the course, things will get much better.
All right, so now I want you to move a little bit earlier, say the end of 2027. What do you sense?
End of 2027, I sense, it's the major contact event happens at the beginning of 2027, so we're still at the end of the first year here, still a point of transition. The UFOs, people are seeing them pretty commonly now in the skies. It's obvious that the alien presence is real. Some people are afraid, especially religious people are, what to make of this. They think it might be the end of the world and things like that. So there's a lot of fear as we make the shift.
So I want to talk about this part. What will happen to all the major organized religions?
They're either going to adapt into a form that can accommodate other forms of intelligent life, or there's organized groups that are really determined in retaining these previous doctrines that they're going to shift into a different timeline. So religions that will survive after the open contact are ones that are going to change enough that they can accommodate, other species and also just accommodate the reality of interconnectedness of all things and all beings.
So let's say, again, right, I want to be able to kind of visualize this part. So when certain people or groups, they are shifting to a different timeline, what does that look like? Is just, let's say, all of a sudden, we don't see those people. Something like that?
There's no way to really describe what it looks like because it's actually already happening all of the time. There's people who are shifting into different realities, and to an extent, when the transition is happening, you'll still see them to an extent. You just won't relate to them and you won't react to them, and then gradually they'll just be phased out where you don't even see them anymore.
I see. So let's say to those people who shifted, who are going to shift a different timeline, so they're there, let's say in a different version of Earth, are they aware that they shifted?
No.
I see. Yeah, that question I want to ask. And they wouldn't realize that they're no longer with the same people they were with before?
No.
Okay. Now I want to move you to a little bit earlier part of 2027. I know you might not sense anything, but if you can tell me anything. that is basically the moment where when we first receive that information that something very big event is happening on Earth. What is the interaction like?
Pretty much, in the sense that part of the initial contact event is going to happen in dream state. A lot of people are going to encounter them at the same time in their dreams.
So the dream will be pretty clear dreams?
Yeah, that's the sense I'm getting.
You see that something's happening, and
there's going to be contact in the dream state.
So they are going to, let's say, contact us through, let's say, media, cell phones, or we're going to see them somewhere.
It's eventually going to be all of those things, but the initial major contact events, as again, a lot of it's blocked. They're not giving me, I'm not allowed to see it.
I understand. It's going to be everything I just talked about.
Eventually, yeah.
And then, so the dream that we experience is kind of us prepared.
Yes.
And people will talk about this.
Yes.
Because we have the same kind of dreams.
Yes.
So let's say year 2027, people talk about to each other or anywhere. The most topic is about this.
It's definitely one of the, after the major contact event, everyone's talking about it.
And it's worldwide. So the hybrid children will be in every country?
Eventually.
Slowly.
Yeah.
From a certain country first.
Yeah.
So that is also makes it more harder for people to really accept this concept, because certain countries it is happening, but other countries, they don't see the hybrid children yet. So
they won't see them physically, but still see them online or tap into them telepathically, even if they're not in their country yet. Still be ways of interacting with them.
So now the question is, because we have free will on Earth, so why this interaction is allowed if this is a different species? Where I understand hybrid children is half of us. So let's say Galactic Federation, it knows about this. And what is that?
I don't understand the question.
Oh, okay. So the open contact is something that, say it looks like it's invasion because they are different species, and why they have a right to come to our planet.
It won't happen without consent. In contact, again, the initial contact will be in a dream state, then there'll be gradual contact through media, and adamant that we don't want them to come, they're not going to come physically.
So this part, Galactic Federation, they knows about it?
Yes.
How they feel about this?
They feel that this plan is the one that will, sense in terms of contacting us, but not doing anything that's, forcing anything upon us that we don't want. Because it's all a choice. We have to do, we have open contact. We don't have to join the Interstellar Alliance. It'll just be things that are offered there for us if we want them. And if enough people do, that's what'll happen.
So the first initial contact will also make us understand what is the purpose, but to do this telepathically?
That's the sense that I'm getting. There's not many details, but yeah, it'll be like we'll understand why they're there.
Understand very clearly.
Yeah.
Everything they're trying to tell us.
Yes.
So why this project has been going for like years? Why it takes this long? That's how I feel.
Well, they had to form the initial agreements. They had to have souls that were willing to consent to participate. And then, to gather the DNA. It also takes time for humans so we had to gather the DNA. They had to gather the genetic material. They had to actually make the hybrids. And they had several generations of hybrids. And then humanity had to reach a collective consciousness level that was high enough that we'd be able to have the open contact. And that just takes time. So
the hybrid children, they have souls, and so those souls they can be from who are souls volunteered.
Yes.
However, we're going to interact, open contact. They are the first wave of hybrid children.
It's a mix. Some of them are, because it was a matter, to be honest, them trying to get it right, right characteristics, a blend of both species. So some of them are second, third wave.
I see. So let's say the 3 hybrid children that I have, can you see them? Can you sense them? They're the first wave or next?
You have 1 from the first wave and 2 from the second wave.
I see. So if I do want to meet with them, I can see them.
Eventually, not right now, but eventually.
right, be able to communicate with them.
Yes.
And so in a way that the features that they have, the hybrid children, they all look a little bit different from each other.
Yes.
So let's say if I look at these three, I will be able to recognize, maybe.
You'd be able to see enough of your physical characteristics to recognize, yes.
I just kind of knowing that they are.
You'd have the energetic sense, but also they'd have some of your physical characteristics enough that you'd be able to tell.
And so they have a different heights.
Yeah, I mean, shorter than us because the Greys are very short.
Also, they're tall ones, the Greys.
Yeah, that's a species of Grey, but yeah, the tall Greys and the short Greys.
Okay.
But even the tall Greys are only about 5 feet.
So the hybrid children are pretty short.
Yeah, about 4 feet.
But, okay, so now I'm confused. The one I met on Core Street, he said he's 6 feet.
I'm getting that there are some that come from the tall Greys who are a bit taller. The average is pretty short.
So I think that's enough questions for today. And I will do this again. If I have other questions, I'm sure I will. And so I'm going to take your conscious awareness back.